2 years ago, Jane Fisher called this man for help.
Hi.
How are you, Jane?
Good, thanks,
Right?
yeah.
Are you well?
Yeah, good, thanks.
More accurately, it was a cry for help, and Mark Edwards was the person she trusted enough to turn to. A health visitor, he'd been there for her son Joshua when he wasn't feeding. Now he was there for her and her newborn baby, Bella.
I remember having no appetite whatsoever, lost a lot of weight quite quickly, and just feeling so low and so hopeless. But then the racing thoughts and the intrusive thoughts and all that side of it, which that made me realise that, you know, perhaps this was slightly more than just being overwhelmed with having 3 kids.
I remember consciously thinking, how do I, and still it's fundamental, but how do I instill some degree of hope that tomorrow could be better, but still validate the way that you're feeling at that day?
I think that was crucial to the whole journey, really, because for a long time I wasn't able to believe that, you know, things would change.
It used to be called postnatal depression, but is now perinatal mental health, because it isn't only depression. It can be anxiety, obsessive compulsive disorder, post-traumatic stress, the whole range. Mark Edwards was already seeing Jane for the normal post-birth checkups and had picked up some warning signs.
There was a breaking point, you know, where I really did hit rock bottom, and was at risk to myself at that point. It still took a lot of courage to actually speak out and say, you know, I'm really struggling, and, you know, I need some real help. But the fact that I was ringing somebody that I knew and somebody that knew me and my family, that made a massive difference. So he already, you know, was keeping a bit of a closer eye on us, because he could tell that things weren't quite right.
Did you know that?
Not at the time, no.
Perinatal mental health affects up to 20% of women during pregnancy and in the first year after having the baby. And suicide is one of the leading causes of death, which is why Jane was prepared to talk to us to raise awareness, yes, but also because she is acutely aware that without her health visitor, the outcome could have been different. Here in Hull, I went with health visitor Shirley Simpson to meet Heidi and her 4-month-old son, Charlie.
Hi.
Heidi had mental health problems, was struggling to bond, and at one stage became suicidal. Her partner, who did not want to be filmed, also has problems, so Shirley has been working with the whole family.
There were times where you got in your car without Charlie, and that was it, you intended to end it.
I'd never do that now. I'd never be able to.
No.
Because you need a mummy.
Because he is that protective factor now for you, isn't he?
Yeah, I'd do anything for him. I'd have to say, getting me into things like baby massage and knowing that if I had a problem, I had someone there and that I wasn't on my own. Because I felt like I was doing everything on my own and it was a really, really big struggle. And it's hard enough having a new baby when you've got so much other stuff going on that you can't focus 100% of your stuff on them. And it was good to have someone that I could ring up if I needed and be like, look, I'm struggling. And I wasn't just annoying you. Does that make sense?
It does.
The government has committed to improving perinatal mental health, but health visitors, who are often at the front line, are struggling. The traditional view of the health visitor is that they come in to check that the baby is being bathed and fed and is happy and healthy. But the fact is, they do far more than that. They do keep an eye on both the mother and the father's mental health. They create a continuity in the family. Yet there has been an 18% fall in the number of health visitors in the past 2 years alone because of public health cuts, and there are now real fears that families are falling through the cracks. The Department of Health and Social Care said the Healthy Child programme mandates that all children up to 2.5 receive 5 health visitor checks. A £16 billion public health funding grant, they said, provides opportunities to identify early signs of mental health problems amongst mothers and enable the right support to be provided. But when we went back to the department to query this, they admitted the checks do not have to be done by health visitors, which is precisely the profession's concern.
The service is developing in a mosaic way, so there are 152 local authorities across England, and there's 152 ways of health visiting now. Some are excellent, some are managing to, in spite of the public health cuts, keep and invest in their health visiting service, whereas others are redesigning services so that health visitors aren't actually seeing families. The visits are being delegated to more junior members of the team.
Hi, morning, Dana. Come in.
Health visitors are fully trained nurses or midwives. Debbie Jackson has spent years looking after new mothers. Here she's seeing Dana Hodgson and her baby. Figures from the Institute now show that 1 in 5 health visitors has caseloads of more than 500 children, and some even have caseloads over 1,000.
Yeah, just a little bit worried how many ounces she's getting per feed. Is she satisfied when she's coming off the breast?
Yeah. I think it's about having confidence in you and your body. I mean, obviously you've produced this wonderful little baby all on your own.
Yeah.
And I know at this present moment she is feeding quite frequently, but that's because she's having a growth spurt.
Yeah.
And she's just encouraging your body to make more milk. She's thriving and you're doing a wonderful job.
Yeah.
Jane Fisher spent a year having intensive mental health support after Mark Edwards' intervention.
And then once the acute phase was over, then came the almost rebuilding myself and accepting what had happened, not blaming myself, accepting that, you know, it was an illness and it wasn't my fault, and just working through some of those things. I just feel grateful for the fact that I survived and I got through it, and that, you know, my family is complete and is strong, but I will never forget how terrifying and how distressing it was to go through.